Hi, this is the help video for Access Chapter 2, Pause and Practice 1, Steps 1 through 8. In this chapter, there are 3 pause and practices. So when we go to create our database, we'll use that as the name. So I have my instructions from the SimNet up, and I note that I need a file downloaded. That file is a Excel file. So we're going to go ahead and download that. We'll use that to import some data. So if we look at this step, it says create a new blank database. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to go ahead and open up Access, and I'm going to do a new blank. The name then will be our standard, your initials, PP, A for Access, Chapter 2, dash, and there's 3 pause and practices. Note where the file is going to be saved. I'm going to put mine on the desktop so that you have your name and your location before you hit create. I'm going to go ahead and hit create. It's going to bring me to this design view, and I'm going to set my screen up here and we will start doing some work. All right, so we have our database created. So we want to switch at this point to design view. So in the first chapter we use this data sheet view to organize, but I want to go to design view. So design view is you get to it by clicking on the view button, and we have to name it at that point. So it's going to be called equipment. So the table is equipment. It takes us to this design view. This is the view I'm used to. This is, I think, where most developers create their tables. So the first thing is we need to modify this primary key. Do you see the key here? So the primary key, remember, is the thing that makes each record unique. So we're going to change this from the word ID to equipment ID altogether. Over here in the data type, that's what kind of data is being stored in this field. Right now it's an auto number, so it's a generated number, 1, 2, 3, 4. We don't want that. We want to be able to put in our actual equipment number. So we're going to do short text. And so now we have that. So I want to draw your attention to this screen. So up here at the top, there is where you put your field name, your data type, and, oh, I didn't put the description. Unique ID assigned to each piece of equipment. So down here is the properties about that field. And so right now we're going to just leave the properties alone, but we'll get to where we can change that. We're going to go ahead and just put in the field names, and then we'll come back and manipulate their properties. So this is called equipment ID. It's the primary key. It's a short text. So now if I take a look at step 4, we're going to begin here. Product name, tab, short text, tab. We don't need a description for that. Tab, it's going to pull you around. So now I'm going to come down to this table and start entering that, right? So category, short text is the default, so it's going to come up. Type of equipment, tab, daily, rental, rate, tab. Now when I get here, it's a currency, so I'm just going to type a C, and it's going to switch it to currency. Must be greater than the weekly rental rate, tab. Monthly rental rate, tab. C for currency, must be greater than oh, I messed up. This should not be monthly, it should be weekly. weekly rental rate must be greater than the weekly, no. Okay, I got this wrong. So this daily rental rate doesn't have anything. So let's just cut that out of there. I selected it and did a Control X. So that should be must be greater than the daily rental rate. And then monthly rental rate currency, so C, must be greater than the weekly rental rate. So if we're renting something by the day for $100, the weekly has to be greater than 100, right? Because you're getting 7, and then like 700, or let's say you get a discount, so 600, and then the monthly has to be more than what you rent for a week, and so that's a check that we're going to put in there, and that kind of makes sense. So date purchased, tab, and this time we're going to do a date time, so I can just hit a D, right? And then date we purchased the equipment, not necessarily, semicolon, not necessarily the date the equipment was made. And then comments are going to be a long text, so I'm going to type in L, additional information about the equipment. And remember, long text is a variable length, so if you put a comment, it'll expand to include it. If you don't, it'll shrink down. So each record's length for the comment field is going to be different. All right, so because we're in design view, we have to save that. So I'm going to come up here and do a save. So now what we're going to do is we're going to work on the field properties, these properties down here. So first thing is equipment ID. So I'm going to highlight it. I just have to be in it. And then down here is the field properties for equipment ID. So the field size is going to be 5, right? That's much different than the 255. We want to make required yes, which it should be because it's a primary key. Come down here to product name, and field size is 45, and the format for product name, so right here the second line is going to be greater than square bracket blue. So let me explain what that is. So the greater than sign makes the contents of the field product name all in capital letters. The word blue inside square brackets turns the font blue. So you could have different colors in there, red, green. They need to be in square brackets. If you did a less than sign, it would change everything to a lowercase letter. Uppercase. So these are actually two different elements to the format. The greater than makes it all uppercase. The square bracket blue makes it a blue color. All right, let's come down to category. Field size is 30. That's all we need to do. And then date purchased. We want the format. So this line, we're going to come over to the right where the drop down arrow is and pick medium date. So just make sure it says date, not time. And now we need to save it. So we have that completed, and we can close it out. In the next movie, we're going to import data and then finish up the first pause and practice. All right, guys, thank you.